Hello students. Today let's read a lesson from Savoring the Classics, Module 2, Lesson number 7, page number 47. The Merchant of Venice. The Merchant of Venice, written between 1596 and 1598, is the earliest of Shakespeare's fine comedies in which he has placed a munificent means extremely generous and clear-sighted woman in sharp contrast to an unusual usurer. Usurer means a person who lends money to others at unfairly high rate of interest. It is a work in which sparkling ingenuity means the ability to solve problems, rescues honesty from the clutches of wickedness. The play contains elements of friendship, revenge, disguise, cruelty, mischief, and romance. Please underline this sentence. The name and character of the Jewish moneylender Shylock has become notorious for his avarice. Avarice means greed. So his avarice through this play. Bassanio, a noble but poor Venetian, asked his friend Antonio, a rich merchant, for 3,000 ducats. Ducats means gold coins, in order to win the hands of the rich heiress Portia of Belmont. Antonio, whose money is all employed in foreign ventures means business, decides to borrow the sum from Shylock, a Jewish usurer who secretly hates Antonio. He agrees to lend the money against a bond by which, if the sum is not repaid on time, Antonio shall lose a pound of flesh. So please underline this sentence, the most important sentence in this introductory paragraph. Bassanio succeeds in marrying Portia, but Antonio fails to repay the debt, and the matter is brought before the Duke. Portia, disguised as a male advocate, exercises her ingenious intellect in order to rescue Antonio from the awful conditions of Shylock's bond. The play ends with the happy news of the safe arrival of Antonio's ships. Next paragraph. In Act 4, Scene 1, we reach the dramatic height of the play. In this scene, the matter of the bond reaches its crisis and its resolution. Shylock is defeated, Antonio is rescued, and the lovers leave Venice for Belmont. Thus, Shakespeare gives us the requisite happy ending for a romantic comedy. The trial scene is noteworthy for various concerns. We notice the clash of ideas, the range of characterization, the long-lasting suspense, witty women in male disguise. Portia's notable speech on the significance of showing mercy, the merciless Shylock being taught a lesson, Antonio's generosity, Bassanio's indecisive nature, and the question of priority over returning marital vows. Thus, the play is universal in its discussion on human nature and behavior. Now, let's be familiar with the characters. The most important one, the Duke of Venice, the ruler. Antonio, a merchant of Venice. Shylock, a Jewish moneylender. Bassanio, Antonio's friend and husband of Portia. Portia, a rich heiress of Belmont. Balthazar, Portia herself in male disguise. Nerissa, Portia's attendant, and the next two are Graciano and Celerio, they are friends to Antonio and Bassanio. Now, let me read the paraphrase or the modern English of the text. Duke. Is Antonio present here? Antonio. Yes, I am here, Your Grace. Duke. I'm sorry to find that you have to answer a cruel opponent, a callous person who is absolutely without mercy. Callous means a person without any feeling. Antonio. My lord, I've been told that you tried your best to soften his bitterness, and since he is obstinate and is not ready to relent, and as there is no hope of escaping from his malice means hatred, I have reconciled myself to submit patiently to his wrath and cruelty. Wrath means anger. Duke. Let someone go and call the Jew into the court. Celerio. He is ready at the door. Here he comes. Enter Shylock. Duke. Make way for him. Let him stand in my presence. Shylock. All people think, and I also think, that you are only keeping up the appearance of malice till the last moment, so that your mercy may shine the brighter in comparison with your cruelty at present. All hope that whereas you now demand a pound of this unfortunate merchant's flesh as penalty, you will not only remit means cancel the penalty, but moved by human pity would also forgo. Forgo means to decide not to have. Also forgo a portion of the principal in view of the losses that have so overwhelmed him lately. Such losses have ruined Antonio, a lowly merchant, and they draw pity for him even from the most stone-hearted, even from unrelenting Turks and Tatars, never taught to do any act of kindness. O Jew, we expect a sympathetic answer from you. So in this paragraph, Duke is requesting, or he is telling Shylock what he actually expects from him. Shylock. I have informed your grace of my intention, and I have sworn by our holy Sabbath to have the penalty due to me according to the conditions of my bond. If you deny me justice according to the law, your charter granting rights and privileges and equal freedom to foreigners would be put to question. You may well ask me why I prefer a pound of dead flesh to 3,000 ducats. I'm not bound to answer that question. The only reason I'll give you is that it is my whim. Whim means that is what I like. Is that a sufficient answer? Suppose that my house is infested by a rat and I am pleased to spend 10,000 ducats to have it poisoned. Does this answer satisfy you? There are some who cannot endure a pig with its mouth wide open, some who go mad at the sight of a cat, and some who are beside themselves with fury when they hear the bagpipe. Bagpipe is a musical instrument, so the bagpipe being sounded with a nasal tone. The reason for such whims is that a man's likes and dislikes are all powerful over his feelings and can direct him either to love or to hatred. Just as no sound reason can be given as to why one man cannot endure a pig Another, an innocent reason can be given as to why one cannot endure a pig, another, an innocent and useful cat, and a third, a bagpipe covered in a woolen cloth, but must of necessity offend others because he himself has been offended. So I also can give no other reason except that I have for Antonio a deep-rooted feeling of hatred, fixed to repulsion, which makes me press so obstinately a suit like this, which involves a great loss of money to me. Are you satisfied with this answer? So here Shylock is trying to give a detailed explanation, telling the Duke that in no way he is going to forgive Antonio, whom he dislikes so much. Bassanio: this answer cannot justify your cruel cords, you hard-hearted man. Shylock: I am not obliged to please you with my answers. Bassanio: do all men kill the things which they do not love? Shylock: is there any man who will not like to kill the thing he does not love? Bassanio: every feeling of resentment is not a hatred from the beginning. Shylock: will you allow a serpent to bite you twice? Serpent means snake. Antonio: Bassanio, please remember that you are arguing with a hard-hearted Jew like Shylock. It is as useless as to stand seashore and order the wave of the sea not to rise to their usual height. So here Antonio is trying to convince Bassanio about the cruelty of Shylock. Therefore, I request you not to make any more efforts to change his mind, but let the sentence means punishment, be passed against me quickly and with plain declaration of law, and let the Jew have his desire. So here Antonio is very sure Shylock is speaking like that because he wants Antonio to be killed. Bassanio: Shylock, I offer you 6,000 ducats instead of your 3,000. Shylock: I will not accept even 36,000. I will have the penalty laid down in the bond and nothing else. Duke: how can you hope for mercy from God when you yourself show no mercy to others? Shylock: but why should I fear the punishment of God when I have done no wrong? Many of you possess slaves whom you have purchased and whom you use like your asses, mules and dogs for low and menial work, simply because they are yours by purchase. Should I ask you to set them free and to marry them to your children? Why should they labor so hard? Why should not their beds be made so as soft as yours? Why should they not eat such delicious food as you yourself do? Your answer will be, well, these slaves are ours by purchase, and such also is my answer to you. The pound of flesh which I now demand from him is mine by right of purchase, for I have bought it at a high price. It is mine and I want to have it. If you deny it to me, shame upon your law. Then I will think that there is no force in the laws of Venice. I demand justice. Tell me if I shall have it. So here Shylock is giving, or he is trying to give his own argument. He is here comparing Antonio with that of a slave, and he says that as you people who own slaves, as you do to them, I also like behaving the same way to Antonio. Duke: by virtue of the power I enjoy, I may adjourn the court unless Dr. Bellario, the learned lawyer whom I have requested to come and decide this case, reaches here today. So here, Duke does not have a proper answer to give to Shylock, and he is waiting Dr. Bellario, a learned lawyer who was requested or asked to come to the court to help the Duke. Celerio: my lord, a messenger who has just come from Padua with letters from the learned lawyer is waiting outside. Duke: call the messenger and let me have the letters. Bassanio: don't feel dejected, Antonio. Have courage. Don't you worry. I will offer my own flesh, bones and blood to the Jew before you lose even a single drop of blood for me. So here we can notice an element of friendship here. Antonio: I am like a diseased sheep of the flock, and so the fittest to die. Or I am like the most ripe fruit of all, which falls soonest to the ground. So Antonio, he is trying to explain in this way, telling that he is the fittest to die, because he compares himself to the most diseased sheep or the most ripe fruit, which is likely to fall to the ground at any time. Therefore, let me die. Bassanio: the best course for you is to live and write an inscription on my tomb after my death. Enter Nerissa, dressed like a lawyer's clerk. Duke: are you coming from Padua, from Dr. Bellario? Nerissa: yes, sir. I come from Padua and from Dr. Bellario, who sends your grace his greetings. Now, after saying this, he presents a letter to the Duke. Bassanio: Shylock: why are you sharpening your knife so eagerly? Shylock: to cut a pound of flesh from that bankrupt there. Gratiano: O callous Jew, it is not on the sole of your shoe, but on your hard and malicious soul that you sharpen your knife. In fact, no metal, not even an executioner's axe, can be as sharp as your malice. Can no prayer soften your heart? So Gratiano is comparing Shylock's heart, or trying to say that Shylock is such a man with no feeling for others, especially for Antonio. Shylock: no, none that you are intelligent enough to think of. Gratiano: oh, you hard-hearted, relentless dog, be you damned to hell. Let justice be blamed for having allowed you to live so long. Your conduct makes me almost lose my faith in the Christian religion and inclines me to agree with Pythagoras that after the death, animals, their souls enter the bodies of men. Your wolfish spirit must have formerly lived in the body of a wolf that was hanged for manslaughter, and even when he was being hanged on the scaffold, his cruel soul must have taken flight and come to dwell in you when you lay in the womb of your accursed mother. So here, according to the principle of Pythagoras, it is the principle is like this: when an animal dies, its soul enters human beings. And here Gratiano says that Shylock has got the soul of a wolf which was hanged for manslaughter or for killing men. So that is why Shylock has become so malicious or so cruel-hearted. So here Gratiano is blaming or saying that his mother for having given birth to such a wretched child. This must have been so, for your desires are cruel, murderous, hungry and greedy like those of a wolf. So Gratiano is comparing Shylock to a wolf who is cruel, murderous, hungry and greedy. Shylock, you cannot by all your railing break off the seal from this bond. By railing so loudly, you are but injuring your lungs. Mend your wits, good boy, or you will become incurably stupid. I wait for justice in accordance with the law of Venice. So Shylock says, simply shouting is not going to have any effect on me, or that will not change the bond. So here I am waiting for justice and I want justice done for me, Duke. This letter from Bellario recommends a young and learned lawyer to this court. Where is he? Nerissa. He is here close at hand, waiting to know if you will permit him to plead in your court. Duke bows to willingly and says to the attendants, let some 3 or 4 of you escort him with due courtesy to the court. In the meantime, let the clerk read out Bellario's letter. Clerk reads, let your grace be pleased to know that I am very ill at the time. I received your letter, but at the moment your messenger came, a young lawyer of Rome happened to be with me on a friendly visit. His name is Balthazar. I acquainted him with the matter in dispute between the Jew and Antonio the merchant. We consulted many books together. I have told him my views on the case, which being supplemented by his knowledge, which I cannot praise too highly, will be at your lordship's service in my place. In obedience to your wishes, I pray that his youth may not be considered as an obstacle in his way and deprive him of due and respectful attention. I have never known so young a man with such maturity of mind. So here the letter introduces this advocate, and the only thing, by seeing him you may conclude, or people may think, that he is just a young person, he doesn't have enough experience. But here he assures that though he is young, he is very well experienced, he is intelligent enough, and he is certainly going to help you in this difficult case. I recommend him to your kind acceptance, and I hope his services to you will make his merits better known. Duke, you hear what the learned lawyer writes, and Portia dressed as a doctor of laws. So another element, and that is the element of disguise, is described here. Give me your hand. Give me your hand means please help me. He is requesting Portia, the one who is dressed as a doctor of laws, and the Duke is requesting him, please do help me. Do you come from old Bellario, Portia? Yes, my lord. Duke, you are welcome. Take your seat. Are you acquainted with the dispute that engages the attention of the court at the present moment? Portia, I've been thoroughly informed of the case. Who is the merchant and who is the Jew? Duke, Antonia and old Shylock, both come forward. Portia, is your name Shylock? Shylock, Shylock is my name. Portia, the suit which you are presenting is of an extraordinary character, yet you put it forward in such a strict legal form that the law of Venice cannot prevent you in your proceedings. And she says to Antonio, you are within his power to cause you harm, are you not? Antonio, yes, so he says. Portia, do you admit that you signed the bond? Antonio, I do. I do means I agree that I have signed the bond. Portia, then the Jew must be merciful. Shylock, there is no force which can compel me to be merciful. Portia, mercy is never the result of compulsion. It is spontaneous, a very important sentence. It pours out from the human heart as naturally as the rain falls from the sky on the earth. So here Portia is comparing mercy to that of a rain which falls naturally from the sky. It is a double blessing, for it blesses both him who shows mercy and the person who is benefited by it. It shows itself as its best when it is displayed by those who have the greatest power and authority. Mercy is a better adornment. Adornment means decoration for a king than the crown he wears. The royal scepter that he holds in his hand is the symbol of his earthly power. It inspires respect and fear. It is the sign of that awe-inspiring majesty which makes the king so much dreaded and feared. But mercy has its place far above the earthly power of kings. Its true place is in the heart of the king. It is an essential quality of God himself. And the more of a king softens his justice with mercy, and more does he approach the divine nature of God himself. Therefore, Shylock, though your demand is for absolute justice, you must bear in mind that if justice were to be done strictly, none of us would have any chance of achieving salvation. In our daily prayers, we pray to God for mercy. As we pray for mercy to God, it is in the fittest of things that we should also show mercy to others. I have said all this in order to persuade you to soften a little your demand for justice. But if you insist on justice, this court, which strictly adheres to law, cannot help passing judgment against the merchant. So here, Portia is giving a detailed explanation about mercy, or she is explaining it so thoroughly and trying to change the mindset of Shylock, but it has no effect on Shylock. Let me suffer from the consequences of my own acts. I insist on having a pound of flesh from Antonio according to the terms of the bond. So all these words clearly suggest or tell us how much hatred Shylock has towards Antonio. Portia. Is Antonio unable to repay the debt? Bassanio. Here, I offer the whole sum in the court on his behalf. Yes, I offer twice the amount. If that does not satisfy him, I guarantee to pay 10 times the amount on penalty of losing my land, my head and heart, if I fail to pay the amount. If even this does not satisfy him, it must be supposed that it is his malice which crushes all feeling of honesty in him. I appeal to you to distort the law a little, or for once, to do a little wrong in order to do a great right, and prevent this heartless fiend from satisfying his desire for revenge. So Bassanio is suggesting Portia to make some kind of changes in the law so that they can save Antonio from the cruel-hearted Shylock. But Portia says that cannot be, means we cannot change the laws. For there is no authority in Venice that can alter means change, a time-honored law. It will become a bad precedent and open the door to many acts of injustice in the state. Therefore, it cannot be done. So these words also suggest how intelligent and how experienced a lawyer he is. Shylock, Daniel is come to decide the case. Oh yes, Daniel, wise young judge, how greatly I honor you. So Shylock, when he heard Portia saying these words, becomes very happy, and here Portia is compared to a Daniel, a very wise person. Portia, Will you please let me have a look at the bond? Shylock, here it is, most respected lawyer. Here it is, Portia. Shylock, thrice the amount of this bond is being offered to you. Shylock, I've taken a vow to have the penalty laid in the bond. Do you want me to commit the sin of breaking a sacred vow? No, I will not do even for all Venice. So here Shylock says, what I have decided, or I have taken a vow to take the penalty from this Antonio. So I'm not going to change my mind. Even somebody offers me the whole of Venice, I'm not going to change my vow. Portia. The bond is forfeited, and legally the Jew can claim a pound of flesh which he will cut from nearest the merchant's heart. To Shylock, be merciful, take thrice the amount you lent, and let me tear the bond. So Portia is requesting Shylock to change his mind and show some mercy to Antonio. Shylock, you can tear it when it is paid according to the terms laid in it. It appears that you are an able lawyer. You know the law. Your interpretation of it has been most excellent. In the name of law, I beseech you, who are a worthy supporter of that law, to pronounce sentence. Sentence here means punishment. I swear by my soul that no human tongue, however eloquent, can change my purpose. I wait here for the carrying out of the terms of the bond. Here Shylock says, whoever comes, or whatever eloquent a person is, he cannot change Shylock's purpose, and his purpose is to kill Antonio. I pray to the court most earnestly to deliver the judgment. Portia. Well then, prepare for a pound of flesh to be cut off from nearest your heart. Shylock. Oh, noble lawyer, what an excellent young man you are. Portia. The law in its intention and meaning allows fully the penalty laid down in the bond. Shylock. Oh, learned and upright judge, you are perfectly right. Really, you are wiser than your age. Portia. Therefore, Antonio, lay bare your bosom. Shylock. Yes, his breast. These are the very words in the bond. Is it not so, noble lawyer? The exact words are nearest to his heart. Portia. Yes, it is so. But have you got the scales ready to weigh the flesh? Shylock. Yes, I have them ready. Portia. Shylock, please arrange for a surgeon at your own expense to stop the blood so that he may not die of excessive bleeding. Shylock. But I don't find this mentioned in the bond. Portia. No, it is not mentioned in the bond, but that does not matter. It would be good of you if you should have a surgeon at hand out of charity. So Portia is requesting Shylock to arrange a doctor so that Antonio does not die of too much of bleeding when a pound of flesh is cut from near his heart. Shylock. I will not do it. I do not find it mentioned in the bond. Portia. Merchant, do you want to say anything? Antonio. I have but little to say. I am forfeited with courage and well prepared to face death. Give me your hand, Bassanio. Farewell. Do not regret that I am fallen to this state on your account, for in my case, fortune is more kind than she usually is. Here, Antonio is using she here for fortune, or fortune is personified here. It is always her custom to allow the unfortunate man to survive the loss of his fortune and to live with the sunken eyes and careworn brown up to an old age of poverty. From such a long drawn agony she has saved me. Remember me to your noble wife. Tell her the manner of my death, and also tell her how dearly I loved you, and speak well and kindly of me after I am dead and gone. And when you have told her the whole story, ask her to judge whether you had not once a very dear friend. If you only regret losing me, your friend, I shall not feel the slightest regret in laying down my life to repay the debt incurred for your sake. For if only the Jew cut deep enough from my breast, my life will be sacrificed at once to pay off your debt. But I shall not at all regret the loss of life. I will suffer it with all my heart. So from these words we understand Antonio is well prepared to die, and he is happy to die because he is dying for his best friend Bassanio. I am married to a wife who is as dear to me as life itself, but I do not value life, my wife, and all the world above your life. So here Bassanio says, though I am married, I have a loving wife, but for me the married life or wife is not better than or more lovable than you. So you are much more important to me than my wife. I would sacrifice them all to this devil of a Jew who is present here if I could but save your life thereby. So he is very clearly telling Antonio, your life is the most valuable for me, Portia. If your wife were present here, she would not be pleased to hear you make this declaration. So Portia, after having heard Bassanio saying these words, telling that it was good that your wife was not here. Had she been here, she would have certainly been very, very upset when she heard these words. Graciano, I have a wife whom I assert I love. I wish her soul were in heaven so that she could entreat some angel to change the nature of the callous Jew. So here Graciano says that if my wife were dead and gone, and had she been there in heaven, I wished she prayed to God and sent some angel to Shylock, and with his words, angel's words, he might have changed the callous heart of this Jew. Nerissa, it is good that you make this prayer in the absence of your wife, otherwise this prayer of yours would have disturbed the peace of your house. Shylock aside, such are Christian husbands. They hold their wives so cheap that they are ready to sacrifice them to achieve their own ends. I wish my daughter had married to a descendant of Barabbas, say a robber, rather than a Christian. We are only wasting time. Kindly deliver the judgment. So after having heard Bassanio and Graciano, Shylock says that Christian husbands are not trustworthy, or they are not honest to their wives, and he says that he would prefer the descendant or children of Barabbas than a Christian to marry his daughters. And he is loudly requesting Portia to deliver the judgment. Portia, you can have a pound of Antonio's flesh. The court awards it in accordance with the law. Shylock, you are really a justice-loving lawyer. Portia, and you must cut off this pound of flesh from Antonio's breast. The court awards it in accordance with the law. Shylock, you are really a learned lawyer. What a fine judgment. Antonio, get ready. Portia, very important paragraph. Wait for a moment. There is something else. The exact words of the bond are a pound of flesh. The bond does not allow you to shed even a single drop of blood. So, according to the terms of the bond, take just a pound of flesh. If you shed a single drop of Christian blood in cutting your pound of flesh, then all your lands and goods will be confiscated by the state according to the law of Venice. So here comes the wise words of Portia, and we all know it is impossible to take a pound of flesh from someone's body without shedding drops of blood. Graciano, what an upright lawyer you are. Mark, Shylock, what a learned lawyer he is. So here Graciano is teasing Shylock, who earlier praised Portia, telling that he was a very learned, experienced and trustworthy lawyer, Shylock. Is that the law? Portia. You can study the statute yourself. As you have been demanding strict justice, I assure you, you will have justice even more than you desire, Shylock. Then I readily accept 3 times the amount of the debt, and you may set the Christian free. Bassanio. Here is the money, Portia. Wait. Don't be in a hurry. The Jew shall have strict justice and nothing else. Wait and don't make haste. He will have nothing else but the penalty. So when Shylock understood it clearly that without shedding blood, he cannot cut a pound of flesh, he is now ready to take the earlier promised amount of money, that is 3 times the amount. But here Portia says, no, you will not get the money now because you want the penalty to be done. Graciano. Oh Shylock, see what an upright and learned lawyer he is. Portia. Therefore, Shylock, get ready to cut a pound of flesh, but take care that you do not shed a drop of blood while cutting the pound of flesh, and do not cut a bit more or less than the exact pound of flesh. If you cut the flesh either less or more, even by the 20th part of one small grain, or if the scale turns down to one side, even by the breadth of a hair, then you will lose your life and all your property will be confiscated by the state. Again, Portia is putting Shylock in deeper trouble. She is reminding Shylock that he cannot remove or cut any amount, or the pound should be exactly the flesh should be exactly 1 pound. It should not be less or more. Graciano. He is indeed a second Daniel Jew. Now, unbelieving Jew, I have you under my thumb. So, have someone under somebody's thumb, it is an expression or a phrase which means completely controlled. Portia. Why does the Jew hesitate? Take the penalty laid down in the bond, Shylock. Give me the amount I lent and let me go. Now, Shylock is coming down and saying that he will just have 3,000 ducats which he had lent, and only that much is enough. Bassanio. Here is the money ready for you. Take it, Portia. He has refused to take the money in the open court. He shall have nothing but justice and the penalty laid down in the bond. Graciano. I again say, he said Daniel, a second Daniel. I thank you, Jew, for teaching me that word. Again, Graciano is ridiculing Shylock. Shylock. Shall I not have the amount I lent? Portia. You shall have nothing but the pound of flesh forfeited to you, to be cut off at your own risk. Jew. Shylock. Well, then, may the devil give him good luck. I will stand here arguing no longer. So here, Shylock is completely defeated, and then when he understood neither the money nor the pound of flesh he is going to get. He wants to escape from that place. He is prepared to leave. But Portia does not allow him to go that way. Portia, Jew, wait. The law has another claim on you. It is clearly laid down in the laws of Venice that if it is proved that a foreigner has either directly or indirectly conspired against the life of a citizen of Venice, one half of his property will go to the man against whom he has plotted, and the other half will be confiscated by the state, which may use it for the benefit of the citizens of Venice. The life of the conspirator will be entirely at the mercy of the Duke without any right of appeal. O Jew, I find that you stand in this dangerous situation, for it is quite clear by the plainest evidence that both directly and indirectly you have conspired against the life of the defendant, and so have incurred the punishment which I have just mentioned. Therefore, fall down on your knees and beg the pardon of the Duke. So very wise words again spoken by Portia, telling Shylock or reminding him that you have directly and indirectly conspired, or you wanted to kill Antonio. So such a foreigner will have severe punishment, Gratiano. The only thing you can do now is to beg permission to hang yourself, and yet you have not money enough to purchase a rope to hang yourself with. Therefore, you must be hanged at the cost of the government. Very, very much ridiculing words said by Gratiano, Duke. In order that you may see the difference in the nature of a Christian and a Jew, I grant you your life before you beg for it. So Duke has got an opportunity to correct Shylock's views earlier. He had a great kind of criticism of Christians. So now here, Duke as a Christian, he says that in order that you may see the difference in nature of a Christian and a Jew, I grant you your life before you beg for it. So here, Duke is ready to show his mercy to Shylock. As regard your wealth, one half of it will go to Antonio, and the other half is forfeited to the state. But I will reduce the state's share to a mere fine if you show true repentance. So here, Portia has really helped Duke, and Shylock is in deep trouble. So he is going to lose his property. Half of his property will straight away go to Antonio. Another half will be confiscated by the state. Portia. Yes, you can reduce the portion due to the state, but not that due to Antonio. So Portia says, Duke, it is in your hands to forgive Shylock and let him have half of his property. But what is due or what is to be given to Antonio must be given to him, Shylock. If you take away all my wealth, you take away my life. You pull down my house when you remove the pillar that supports it. In the same way, you kill me when you take away the means by which I live. Portia. What mercy can you show to him, Antonio? Gratiano. All the mercy that he deserves is a rope given free of cost by which he may hang himself. So Gratiano is again laughing at, ridiculing Shylock, telling that the only thing that is merciful from Antonio is he can buy a rope for Shylock and he can go and hang himself, Antonio. If it pleases my lord, the Duke, and all the court, I am prepared to remit the confiscation of one half of his goods which come to my share, provided he will let me keep the other half in trust to be given on his death to the gentleman that lately stole away his daughter. There are two more conditions to be fulfilled by him. One, that for this favor granted to him, he must at once become a Christian, and the other, that he sign a deed of gift by which all he possesses should pass on to his son-in-law Lorenzo and his daughter. So Antonio, using his experience, says something very meaningful. He says that Shylock can be excused and he can be forgiven, so that he is ready to convert or change his religion to Christianity. And another thing he says that the money which comes to me, I shall keep with me, and later on, after Shylock's death, when his daughter is married, I shall give the money to the one who marries Shylock's daughter. So here Antonio is ready to be very, very much merciful towards the children of Shylock, Duke. He must do all this, or I shall revoke the pardon I recently pronounced. So the Duke becomes very strict and stern and tells that Shylock has to do all these, otherwise he will be very much hard-hearted towards Shylock. Portia: do you agree, Jew? What do you say, Shylock? I am satisfied. Portia: clerk, draw up a deed of gift. Shylock: I pray you give me permission to go away from here. I am not well. Send the deed after me and I will sign. So Shylock, after having completely defeated here in the court, wants to move from there at once, and he promises he will sign the deed later on. Duke: you may go, but you must do it. Gratiano: at the christening ceremony you shall have 2 godfathers. Had I been the judge, I should have added 10 more, and they would have taken you to the gallows and not to the church for christening. Christening means the baptism, or here we saw Antonio was asking Shylock if he has to keep half of his property, he has to change his religion from Jewishism to Christianity, that is christening. Duke: sir, I invite you to come home with me to dinner. Portia: your grace, I humbly beg to be excused. I must leave this night for Padua, and it is proper that I should set for that one. So here, as a mark of high respect to Portia the lawyer, Duke is inviting for dinner, but is asking his excuse. Says that wants to leave immediately. Duke: I'm sorry that you have no time at your disposal. Antonio: you should suitably reward this gentleman, for in my opinion you are much obliged to him. So Duke reminds Antonio, see, you must be very much grateful to this person, because he only saved you or your life from the cruel Shylock. Bassanio: most worthy sir, my friend and I have today got out of serious danger by virtue of your great wisdom. In return for the pains so courteously taken by you on your behalf, we very gladly offer you 3,000 ducats, which were due to the Jew. Antonio: in addition to the small sum that we offer you, we shall ever remain indebted to you in love and service. Portia: a man is amply rewarded if he is satisfied with what he has done, and I feel highly satisfied by saving your life, and this is sufficient payment for me. I have never desired a greater payment. I would be very much pleased if you kindly recognize me when we ever happen to meet again. I wish you the best of luck, and so take leave of you. So Portia says, I am rewarded when I have saved your life. So I don't expect, or I don't want anything better than that, other than that. Bassanio: dear sir, we are forced by our sense of gratitude towards you to press you further to accept something from us as a token of our regard and not as a payment. Kindly do not refuse my prayer and kindly pardon me for pressing you in this way. So Bassanio is insisting Portia to take something as a sign of their respect and love towards him. Portia: I grant your request since you press me so hard. To Antonio: give me your gloves and I will wear them as a sign of your love and affection. To Bassanio: I will take this ring from you as a token of your friendship. Do not draw back your hand. I will not accept anything else, and you should not refuse me this out of your love and friendship for me. So two things which she is ready to accept, two things which she is ready to accept are gloves and a ring from Bassanio. Bassanio: good sir, this ring is a mere trifle. I will not disgrace myself by giving you such a trifle. So here Bassanio says, what is it, sir? This is a very small thing. For your great deed or a great work of saving my friend's life, this is nothing. But Portia says, I will take nothing except this ring. I have taken a fancy to it, Bassanio. Much more depends on this ring than its value in terms of money. I will find out by general advertisement the costliest ring available in Venice and give that to you. Only I pray you excuse me for not giving you this one. So here Bassanio finds it absolutely difficult for parting away with that ring because it was given by his wife. Portia says, I see only that you are generous in making promises. You first taught me to beg, and now you teach me how a beggar should be refused. Bassanio: dear sir, my wife gave me this ring, and when she put it on my finger, she made me promise that I should neither sell it nor part with it or lose it. So here Bassanio shows his love for his wife and telling Portia that it is very difficult for me to be away from or give. It was my wife's special reminder that I should never sell that ring or lose that ring. Portia: this is an excuse which men make when they wish to avoid parting with their possessions. If your wife is not a mad woman, if she knows how well I have deserved the ring at your hands, I am sure she will not continue to be your enemy forever for giving it to me. Well, farewell. So when she understood that Bassanio was not ready or willing to part away with that ring, she says, it is okay, I am leaving, and she says farewell, and Portia and Nerissa go away. Antonio: dear Bassanio, give him the ring. Let your wife's directions be overweighed by his services to us and the love you bear for me. Bassanio: go, Gratiano, run and overtake him and give him the ring, and see if you can persuade him to come to Antonio's house. Go away quickly. Gratiano goes away. Come, Antonio, let's go to your house immediately. We will leave for Belmont early in the morning. Let's go, Antonio. So that is all from this act, scene, fourth act, scene 1. And here, while reading again, you have to keep the important elements which are mentioned in the introductory paragraph